So this detective might be one of the smartest investigators ever, and he totally flipped this case that had everyone else completely stumped. But let me tell you how this whole thing starts in Beaumont, Texas, at this place called the MCM Elegante Hotel. There's this guy, Greg, and he's super routine about everything. Like, he travels for work and stays at the same hotel every week and does the same thing every night. He cranks up his AC orders, some food, gets comfy in his PJs, and watches movies while having some candy and cigarettes. So one night he's just chilling in his room watching Iron Man 2, and texting with his wife about taxes and everything seems totally normal. But then something happens, and Greg ends up dead on the floor. And at first everyone's thinking maybe it was natural causes, like a heart attack. But then the medical examiners hold up, this guy was shot. And now everyone's super confused because nothing in the room was messed up at all, not even a chair was out of place. And nobody in the whole hotel heard any fighting or screaming or anything. The police are stumped for months, they interview everyone they can think of. They're looking at security footage, they're checking out Greg's business partners, his family, everything. But nothing makes sense. And they're about to give up when Greg's wife hires this private investigator named Ken. And this is where it gets wild, because Ken shows up and he's like, something's not adding. Right here. First thing he notices is the room was super hot when they found Greg. But Greg's wife is like, that makes no sense. Because he always kept his room ice cold at night. And that got Ken thinking. Turns out there were these electricians staying next door, and earlier that night the power had gone out because Greg's microwave blew a fuse. And that's when Ken starts piecing together all these tiny details that everyone else missed. Like there's this weird patch on the wall that's actually toothpaste. Ken figures out that one of the electricians, Lance, was messing around with a gun while he was drunk, showing it off to his buddies. And it went off, and the bullet went straight through the wall and hit Greg. But instead of checking to see if anyone was hurt, they just covered up the hole with toothpaste and went down to the bar like nothing happened. And get this, the next morning when they saw Greg's body being taken out, they still didn't say anything. They just packed up and left town. But Ken tracked them down months later. And when he confronted one of the guys, he got him to crack and call his buddy Lance on the phone while the police recorded everything. The whole cover-up fell apart and Lance ended up getting 10 years in prison. But here's the craziest part. If they had just come forward right away and told the truth about the accident, they probably wouldn't have gone to jail at all, but trying to hide it turned an accident into a serious crime. And that's why you don't play with guns in hotel rooms, and definitely don't try to cover up a crime with toothpaste, because there's always someone out there who's going to notice those little details that everyone else missed. And Ken figured out this whole thing basically just by realizing the AC wasn't running. That's how smart this guy was. Moral of the story is the truth always comes out. Especially when you've got a detective who pays attention to the smallest details and isn't afraid to think outside the box to solve what seemed like an impossible case.